And we are live. Hello.
Hello.
It is myself and Mr. Pokemon John himself, as Gabrielle refers to you, um, ready to talk some playoffs.
Rose calls you the judge.
The Judge. That's such a cool moniker. The Judge. I feel like definitely has a lot more gravitas than I feel like I have actually earned in my life.
Definitely more than Pokemon John.
Pokemon. Well, the problem is that one of my best childhood friends is named John, so there has to be a way of differentiating you two.
That's actually it's the same for me. Peter, his name's Alex, and I talk about him all the time.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Well, do you mean Alex, or do you mean the judge?" And
Or the
that's you. You're the
Judge.
judge.
Yeah, I feel like in my head, Peter is Disney Peter, although I only know one Peter.
I don't know any other than I guess the one, but
The one whose name isn't
he's
Peter.
also Disney Peter. He's definitely Disney Peter.
Yeah. What's up with all those New York people like having online handles that aren't their real names?
Yeah, like silly nips.
Yeah, like next
It's
you're
not
gonna
his.
tell me that Nips
I'm
isn't his real
nearly
first name.
positive that's not his real name.
Yeah, his real name is gonna be like Luke or something. You know.
You don't think Chadwick Swamperton's his real name?
Chadwick Swamperton. I know it's not his real name. I mean, I don't know about Swamperton, but I know Chadwick is not his real name. Nor is Chad. So let's see. Do we actually have like a? We do have a full-on bracket, don't we?
We
Yeah.
do.
All
We
right.
do.
So here's the full-on bracket. What we're gonna do, we Pokemon John, aka Ikana, and I have a little special for this video where we each asked our significant others for their opinions on who is going to win each of these matches. Um, I showed Gabrielle, my significant other, just the Pokemon and the names, not who ran them or anything. She knows absolutely nothing about Pokemon, and she made her predictions. And then I'm not sure what Rose did. How did
Pretty
she?
similar. I used the prep doc, and showed her the two teams, and in about three-fourths of the way in, she said the red ones always looked more intimidating,
Hmm,
which I thought was unfair, but that's okay. She knows a tiny bit about Pokemon. She played like Pokemon Snap, and I think we played Sword and Shield together and stuff like that, but uh, doesn't care about it too much.
yeah, Gabrielle knows actually nothing. So um, there are definitely some opinions. Um, and then Ikana and I will give our thoughts as well. Much less important, much less interesting, and maybe some. We're gonna pick an overall winner, some things like that too. So where's the actual first match here? King of Mistakes and Red Shirt. Should we start
That's where I
off with
started.
the significant other picks?
We could probably do them in a block and then do all of ours instead of maybe splicing them all up, but
So
I'm
go through
pretty
all of ours,
impartial.
then go through all theirs, so that people know to skip 20 minutes into the video for the sake.
Exactly,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Well, then why don't we alternate? Saying who we think is going to win first off. Let's just give our initial. Who do you think has this? And then we can
Are we
talk
doing
about
us
the
or them?
comparisons. Us. Let's do us.
All right.
So why don't you start 3, 2, 1? Who's going to win this one between Brobo and Redshirt? Who you got?
King of mistakes.
All right, I do too.
As much as I want to believe in my plasma brethren, I think that Salamence is pretty cool. He's a nice Pokemon. I think his team looks, I don't know, just I think he just looks better into red shirts than red shirts does into him.
Yeah, it is nice that Redshirt finally has steals that he can trap with Fortress and Empoleon that Magneton can actually beat with the right set. Fortress can have Earthquake, I guess, so can Empoleon, but Magneton can have a Balloon or Magnetize or something like that. So
Right, right.
it's nice that there is finally a mind game for Magnezone to play. Whereas I feel like in a lot of the regular season games, it was just, oh, I trapped Lucario. It close
And now I
combat.
lose. Yeah.
I
I think Terra Ambor looks better than Zoroark as well. Um,
I
yeah.
disagree. I
You think
think
so?
I do because I look at um, Broba's team. I think that like Embor is very scary for sure, but I think that Zoroark, you can kind of pick which of the likely counters you want to be able to beat, and which I always like in a Terramon. Like if you're trying to counter Meloetta, you know, Terra Dark physical, you smoke that thing. Trying to counter like Weezing, Terra Psychic, like Zoroark has some psychic moves. Yeah.
A lot of options.
Fortress,
I think
you know,
psychic,
you got Flamethrower, and even Rabombi, you could go Terra Steel, it can't really touch you anymore. So I do like Zoroark's ability to sort of choose which of the likely switch-ins it can beat. Emboar, you know, it is a wrecking ball, which is very scary with Terra, but I think it's just a bit harder to like get the one up with your Terra rather than just do more of what you can already do, which is still really good. And you can run like special Scald to get through a Rhydon or something like that. So
right.
But I do think
No,
like,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah, I do think in these kind of offensive guys, you want them to be a little bit faster. But and I think too, just a lot of Brobo's like likely answers to Zoroark, like Rabombi, you know, fast hits it. Rabombi, it doesn't have a lot of good offensive coverage, so if you want to be able to hard counter Rabombi, you can with Terra. Whereas I feel like with Emboar, you know, you're always going to have a tough time with like Entei, who's going to outspeed you and
right. Anything faster can potentially revenge, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think they might both take one and then die.
Yeah. You know, maybe you take one, you get your surprise kill on something, or you take your Terrifier Flare Blitz and recoil yourself to 40% and then get picked off by something. But, you know, maybe that's enough for him.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes. I do think it'll be a really close match, regardless, and I think that like potentially one single stroke of luck could be a pretty big difference maker. You know, a miss or a crit or something like that.
Yeah, and
at the wrong time.
Yeah, and I feel like each of these teams has a lot that they can sort of do to counter the other. On Redshirt's side, Entei looks really good into Brobo's team. I think Entei kind of forces some of the fire resists to play a certain kind of way because Rabombi, Breloom, Fortress all weak to fire. Weezing.
Empoleon's not the most reliable fire check in the world.
Yeah, Empoleon is neutral, and Entei I think has ground coverage if it needs it.
I think it gets stomping.
Doesn't want to switch into a Sacred Fire, which I don't even know if that makes contact.
It does not. I looked it up recently.
Yeah, so it doesn't.
For when I played Red Shirt.
And can burn. So like, Bandit Entei doing 50% to that Weezing or 40%. You know.
Get Stone Edge.
Stone Edge, yeah. Even just E-Speed is nice to have in the back for something like picking off a Scarfed Emboar that's been recoiled down. So I do think that Red Shirt has a lot that can he could lean into to make it a bit harder into King of Mistakes team. I do think the thing that put me over the line for King of Mistakes, though, is that I feel like his roster is just a bit more flexible. Like, comparing the waters, you know, Empoleon to Slowbro, both 12 points, both defensive water types, but Empoleon can run a boosting set, and it can run pivoting, and it can run Stealth Rock, and Steel is a bit better of a type than Psychic, and they both have, you know, their 50% recovery move, but Slowbro, if you're boosting, it's like, you better have eliminated everything that doesn't check you, or else it's not gonna, you know, it better be your last mon iron defensing once you've scattered out everything that it beats. Whereas in Empoleon, it's like maybe you go for the agility, something switches in that beats you, and then you just switch out to something else so you can do it again later. And I feel like Slowbro just doesn't quite have that flexibility. Kind of the same.
I think it's just different because he's got Trick Room, and the one set that I played against this season that had me in absolute shambles was when I was mocking for Red Shirt's team, and Chad kept bringing Weakness Policy Slowbro in Trick Room, and I had no answer for it. It was extremely hard to deal with, and it took down like 3 Pokemon every time.
Yeah, and you know, maybe that's the way forward. You bring the Trick Room Slowbro. I'd be a bit concerned just with Emboar and Fortress sitting there too, who are like probably fine.
Much different teams. Yeah. It works against my team because I don't really have any walls.
Yeah, you have 6 fast guys, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think it would work nearly as well against like dedicated stuff, right? But
yeah.
I don't know. It some versatility. I think losing teleport kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of stuff lost teleport.
Yeah, and I do.
Slowbro's not my favorite Pokemon though.
Which Slowbro? Yeah.
Yeah. Not a very me Pokemon.
Yeah, it's not a very me Pokemon either. I guess it's very similar to Alomomola, who I do like, but for some reason Alomomola just does it more for me.
I think it's because it's a cool fish. And
pretty
honestly, it's
safe.
not psychic.
And it's not psychic. Wheezing looks pretty good here. You know, it's basically a hard counter to Rhydon and Hitmonchan, so that's nice. Not that those are, you know, special threats, but it's a pretty good counter to Slitherwing. But the walls on each side don't have, you know, a ton of reliable recovery. I'm looking at Rotom and Sylveon. Sylveon has to Wish, which isn't great.
Mhm.
Rotom doesn't have any recovery. Entei has Morning Sun, but Fire is a pretty bad defensive type. You know, Meloetta doesn't have any recovery. Fortress doesn't have any recovery. Rabombi has Roost, but it's not a wall. You know, it's not really going to be able to do too much.
Yeah. When's it ever really roosting?
Yeah, and the things that have good recovery are like Salamence and Empoleon and Slowbro and like sort of Sylveon.
Do you really want defensive Salamence here? Do you want to take advantage of its? I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. That
Itself.
One thing that I was looking at a lot in this matchup is like, what Salamence do you run? Because Sylveon
Both of them have a lot of merit.
Yeah, and Sylveon probably checks special ments. Slowbro probably checks physical ments. You could probably expect both of them to come, but you know, if I'm Richard, I don't really want to be playing the 50-50 guessing game. Switch Slowbro into Specs Hurricane or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and Salamence.
Or bring Sylveon into a Dragon Dancer 2 and then
Iron
it could probably live a 1 Hyper Voice, and I don't think it can live a +2 Dual Wing Beat.
Yeah, or Ironhead or whatever you decide to run. But then on the other hand,
You might have to run Iron Tail. I don't know if it gets head. Maybe it does.
Maybe. Then on the other hand,
whatever.
for like more of a wall Mence. Mence looks pretty good into Rotom. You know, you don't want to take a Volt Switch really, but like, it's fine.
But it's not terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to do more than 50.
Yeah,
it's amazing to Slitherwing.
Yeah, it looks great into Slitherwing. Looks great into Entei. So I probably found myself leaning a bit more to wanting to play like a more defensive Mence, but
yeah, but it gets Moxie, and when the green number goes up after I get a kill, it makes my brain happy.
Yeah, especially with a team that's like kind of frail. Like Entei and Magzone, weak to ground moves. Slitherwing, Rotom, like got the flying coverage. Looks pretty good into them. So yeah, Moxie definitely looks very tempting. But I think we both picked King of Mistakes. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight this purple.
Purple for victory, like Plasma.
Here's my thought. So I'll say I'm red, you're blue, and we can keep a little. Who do we think's gonna win each?
Oh, I'm with it.
All right, now looking down into Cam. So I'm gonna reorganize this a little bit because I can. Sorry, red shirt. Well, I guess I'll keep it up for when we do our
round 2.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to imagine. So Cam into, let's say, Brobo. Not going to get too in-depth on these because they're a little more speculative, but who you got?
I have Cam. Honestly, I don't know if it matters too much who he plays. I think he has a very good matchup into both of these teams. He didn't struggle much against Redshirt the first time around, and yeah, he's one of my favorites to win the whole thing. So if I want that prediction to come true, that means he has to win this game. So.
Yeah, I think that kind of like when we did our rankings video, like I think Cam's team is good. It's fine. Like I still don't love it, but it's, you know, clearly he has done well with it. But I think that Cam is just
he's good.
We'll put a lot of work in it, and he's a good player. And I feel like that'll be enough to get him to the semis or the finals. Is that the finals? Semis. Okay. So,
Semis.
I'm picking Cam to get out of this quarter.
Yes, I am as well.
So should we go to the next match, or should we go to the celebrity picks?
Let's do the celebrity picks. Why not?
Okay. Gabrielle, looking at King of Mistakes and Red Shirt, has picked Red Shirt. What she said was, she looked at Red Shirt's team and said that Red Shirt is going to slither into that win. and then looking at versus Cam, she said Red Shirt's going to keep slithering into that win all the way through Cam's team too.
Okay.
So that's what she picked out as the reason for victory. Red Shirt's going to slither into the win.
Rose took good look and decided that King of Mistakes was going to win.
Okay.
because of that guy, and look at the swag on that guy. And she pointed to Terra Imbor, Salamence, and Empoleon, respectively.
You know what? I respect it. It sounds like she likes a good monster, a good Pokemon monster,
I think
pocket monster.
she's looking for a pocket monster.
Yeah, get
As
this.
I got more of her answers, it became more and more clear that I think she wants like creatures.
Yeah, get
You
this
know?
humanoid Meloetta shit out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a fucking dragon.
Exactly.
Yeah, I respect it, Rose. All right, who did have? So, which team is more monstrous between Cam and Brobo?
Ooh,
Because
that's a tough one.
Cam's got some goons.
That's a tough call. I only asked about the first round, so
All right.
this is speculative. This is definitely speculative.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and get the updated.
But I do think King of Mistakes is more monstrous. I think there's more like if I encounter that thing in the woods, like I'm done.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm getting out of that, except like Bomby maybe.
Yeah, but maybe you're allergic to bees. What's scarier than a what's it called? Anaphylactic shock.
Um, like maybe falling out of a plane or something like that.
Maybe. And you know what? Salamence will take you there.
And then just drop you right off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Rose said King of Mistakes, and I think she'd probably pick him again. Actually, I know she would for her overall pick, but you know.
All right. Well, Gabrielle said red shirt, so we'll see who wins the celeb matchup here.
The celeb battle.
Yeah. All right. Moving down to myself versus James. You are not myself or James. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I think this is a weird matchup. I think that James has kind of snuck into playoff. But it's extremely difficult to quantify. Like him as a player right now, he hasn't played in a while. He has doesn't. We don't really have any games of data to go off of. His team is 12 interesting Pokemon, and I feel like he could bring any of the 12 except maybe Munchlax. But the last time I said that about someone's Pokemon, they brought him every game, so who knows? Um,
The Granville effect.
yeah, I don't know. But then, we were talking earlier, and you said this. Yeah, maybe this season hasn't panned out exactly like you wanted it to, because you're not, 7-0. And it hasn't been especially by your standards, your best season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you're a lot more motivated in playoffs than in like bracket play or in like league play sometimes, because now there's elimination on the line, and now you want to always be playing Pokemon.
Yeah, I just want to play more games.
Um, so I really don't know. I think James is a bit of an anomaly, and I think he might. Part of me feels like he wants to lose, but part of me feels like he's just not the type of person who can just throw a game.
Yeah.
I feel like he's always got to like go for it,
Mm-hmm. Well, then on the vibes, who do you have?
I have you.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, my toxic trait is that I always feel like I'm going to win, and not only that I'm going to win, that I deserve to win. I cannot help but feel like I deserve it more than anyone else, regardless of whether that's true or not. So I'm picking myself.
I feel like that's perhaps what makes you a good competitor.
Maybe. It also probably makes me a little bit insufferable in some contexts, but it is who I am. We were talking about diplomacy before this, and I can't help but just try to win. It definitely kicks in playoffs too. Like, I would love to just watch a little bit for sure. It'd be a nice break. But then I start prepping, and I'm like, I don't want to lose this shit. I'm gonna make the best team I can. So, in terms of actual matchup, what do you see that you like? What do you see that you don't like?
Oh, well, I genuinely do think that there are 11 to 12 Pokemon that he could bring and build a team around, and that is obviously always hard to prep for. I love Feraligatr. You guys know that. I think he's actually pretty solid in your team as well. Your team's a little frail, and he gets Crunch. Obviously, Suicune walls pretty well, but what else does he have? Electros? I don't know. Suicune might be a bit tough to bring down. I don't really think Brute Bonnet's that good of a Pokemon, but I've also never really seen it be used.
Yeah, Spore is good, for sure.
I liked your team's like just overall matchup into his a little bit more, without getting too into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, his team feels a little frail. Feels a little spread out in terms of value. But I think I've also, really suffered from like a lot of my team. I think all these guys are really solid, but they get kind of compressed into what they can do when I'm making a team. So, like Toad Scroll, it's hard
And
to really.
and it is a little frail. Your
And
team
it's
as
a little
well.
frail too. Yeah, there's like bulk, but it's not like it's a lot of mixed bulk. It's not
Hmm.
like
Or it's just like flat HP,
yeah, or it's just flat HP.
which is
But
never bad. It's just sometimes you want more.
But looking at the teams, like it seems like we'll both have a lot of opportunity to create some interesting offensive sets, just because our teams are kind of each respectively a little bit frail. Um,
They almost allow for a little bit of setup too. I think you guys have some. You each have a couple passive walls that are exploitable.
yeah, so it might come down to who gets the one free turn of Dragon Dance or Swords Dance or something like that. But yeah, I think it'll be a good match. We both
I
have.
think using your illusion well will be important if you decide to bring Zoroark.
If I even bring it, who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be the biggest illusion of all. Especially if he came and he like wasn't on the roster. That'd be
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Does he have an alternative ability? I don't even know. Just random non-illusion Zoroark.
No, he doesn't. You have to bring illusion.
Has to be illusion. We have to play the mind game.
If
Yeah,
someone's gonna slow down that clip right there. Harvest a lot of information.
Oh, I think that was the team that I lost to Riker with. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I pasted this team. It's not a surprise what's here. I'm happy about my Raichu set. It got to do what I wanted to do. I wish I got to do a little more. But yeah.
I also think Raichu's a better Terra Pokemon than Flamigo. I think Flamigo also has potential. I've never really seen anybody use it, but I've seen Raichu really pop off in multiple seasons.
The problem with a Terramon like Flamigo, just for me building my team, is that I feel like it really forces me to run like Rocky Helmet Wheezing, which I've gotten stuck doing like so many weeks. Because Flamigo doesn't have a great answer to it, but I also don't want to be like Gardevoir setup fodder. So I think it'll be interesting to see like what we decide we're not going to prepare for, and what we decide we are going to prepare for.
Right. You can't pick everything. You can only bring 6 Pokemon, but
yeah, and I think that our teams are kind of diverse enough in terms of their offensive threats that we'll each have to pick a couple things where it's like if they bring it, I'm gonna have a really hard time dealing with it. Okay, and then me versus Nips. Who you got?
oh, I had you again. Excuse me. I thought that you were gonna use your round 1 momentum, kind of keep cooking. You look at it again, and the same thing happens. Where you're like, no, I don't really want to lose this game either.
Yeah.
But it's tough because I feel like Nips does this crazy thing where he gets second in the division like every season, and kind of beats everybody without much issue, but it doesn't. I don't know, like super under the radar somehow.
Yeah.
But it always happens, and I know he's a different beast in playoffs too, but. I don't know. 2 championship teams in round 2 is super hype though for everyone who isn't the 2 of you guys. It's kind of hype for you guys too, but
yeah, it'll be fun. I actually kind of like that. Like
an excellent spectator one.
I got obviously getting James round 1 in terms of expected round 1 opponents for the 3rd seed kind of sucks, but I'm excited about this bracket because I feel like playing James into Nips into who would it be? Cam, and then,
on our prediction, Cam.
And then into like Chad or Riker or one of these guys, like that would be the sickest bracket run ever. Come on, so I'm excited for that.
I do think that you arguably have the hardest bracket besides maybe
James.
No, Trey.
Yeah, Trey, Bestrin, Riker.
Into somebody from that side. I don't know who. Yeah. And then to someone else. I think it's tough. I think Peter and I have a hard one too, but just because we gotta play chat early.
Yeah. Well, every season, James and I, every season he plays, we usually wind up pretty at the top of our respective divisions. So I'm hoping that we have like a round one match that feels like a finals.
Well, I hope so as well. Like I said, I think it's an excellent one for this the average spectator, the Super Draft Bros super fans.
All right, getting into the significant other predictions. So, just for context, I did not show Gabrielle the names of the people playing, so she did not know this was my team.
I blocked my team as well.
All right, what did Rose say?
Rose says, "Oh, that was a really hard one because I was gonna say it's the Sandcastle team, but you can't discount the Factory team."
The
And
factory
she,
team, yeah.
which I have never considered Weezing Galar as a factory. Like I definitely, I guess I don't know. I must have. He's a giant smokestack, but like I don't see him that way anymore. That was refreshing. She followed that up by saying, "What good is a flamingo gonna do?" And then she picked you.
Nice, yeah. So, I gotta respect it. Flamingo doesn't look that threatening. Those of us in the know Terra fighting close combat from Choice Band Flamingo is pretty brutal, but regardless. Gabrielle also picked me. She said that my team has the cuter names. She especially
Hilariously, Rose said your team looked more evil.
More evil, yeah. I guess Zora Arcade is pretty scary. Reggie Drago is pretty scary.
She specifically shouted out to Toad Scroll as being the most evil looking, which is fair. Cruel's in his name.
Yeah,
I get it.
Does kind of look like one of those alien ships from War of the Worlds that abducts people.
Well, that might really track. I think that was one of her most watched movies as a kid.
There you go. Yeah, I had the subtle psychological influence, and it seems like she wants to pick the scarier team to win it.
Yeah, fair enough. Pocket monsters, after all.
Pocket monsters. Yeah, James has some monsters too, like Rampardos, but then you got Arcanine. He's just a dog. He's just a cute dog.
And, like, dinosaurs are different. You know what I mean? Dinosaurs aren't they're just dinosaurs. They're not monsters. They're in their own classification of stuff.
Yeah, we all saw Jurassic Park. We're a little bit more...
That's old news. Dinosaurs aren't scary anymore. They're just dinosaurs.
Yeah, but Regirock,
But Regirock...
Who's that guy? What's he doing here?
That monolith of a man? Absolutely. Terrifying.
Yeah. Munchlax? Come on. Alright, so then Gabrielle also picked me versus Nips, and she said, because Nips' team has Toxtricity, and she doesn't think anyone who has that sort of toxicity on their team should be allowed. Not just that they'll lose, but they shouldn't be allowed. She's very anti-toxicity, so she's very anti-toxtricity, and picked my team over Nips.
That's fair. I can't really refute that.
Yeah. So sorry.
Rose has thoughts on Nip's team, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Then moving into your match.
I think it's really weird that two people with losing records are meeting in playoffs. But I kind of love it at the same time.
This is what happens now.
I really love that I get to play Peter. Peter is the one who got me into Pokemon, and we started the server together. He's my Pokemon buddy. But because of that, he always shows up against me, and I have a terrible record against him. So I'm really glad that I get to play him, but I'm also like, cool. Like an easy demon for me.
Yeah.
I suppose a really hard demon, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well,
actually, the last time we played, I beat him in the monotype, but I had ground and he had rock, so that doesn't
Yeah, it's not.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Not exactly transferable.
And he was bringing Regirock, so it's just cool. Like that's one lock. I don't really know how this game is going to go. I think it's going to end with one Pokemon left. Because that's how every one of my games has ended. So why would it be any different now?
Yeah, why would it be like an easy 3-0 victory? That's not how you roll. I do think, when we started our original rankings, I didn't like Peter's team. I continue to not like Peter's team. You know, that hasn't changed. And I liked your team, and I continue to like your team. So definitely on builder or like on team comp, I like yours more. But I do think, you know, you've got a bit of a flying weakness because Magneton's not a real steal. It quarter
No.
resists Hurricane, sure, but it's like still
It's still taking like 40 at least.
Yeah, Peter has 2 flying types, including the Terra Captain. So that's tough.
They're both pretty good.
They're both
I
pretty
also have a bit of a rain weakness. You know, Blastoise can only like take so much. Like Floatzel in rain was a really tough thing to overcome for me.
Yeah. And one of the rain sweepers is Ludicolo, who
Which
Blastoise
is
both can't touch and who beats you.
exactly, but it is still just Ludicolo and not Floatzel, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Um, what else did I think about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Giga's-
kind of thought it was like a slightly rough draw because I do have a flying weakness, and this is a pretty good flying team. But I also don't think his team is all that spectacular, and Iron Leaves looks real good into him.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's like pretty specially bulky, which is gonna help for switching into random water moves.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, with booster speed, it's as fast as any of these guys.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Vasculegion is probably faster with Swift Swim. I mean, definitely faster with Swift Swim, but
And that's problematic, but I'll figure something out.
yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea who's going to win this game. I do not have that faltering confidence. Is that even a word?
Unfold.
There it is. Sure. Unwavering confidence. And yeah. I really have no idea after crunching all the data. I'd say it's probably going to come down to whoever wants it more.
Yeah, as always, whoever wants it more. I feel like this match is going to go like 2 ways. Either you're just going to sort of solidly beat Peter, or you're going to get kind of steamrolled, make a couple bad switches into Hurricanes, and get like 4-0'd.
Yeah,
I think that's really the 2 ways the game can go. I am picking you. I still continue to think your team's better, but yeah, scary for sure.
I would like to win. But, who knows? I'd like to do a lot of stuff. I think if we move on from there, on to Chad, I think he, at the very least on paper, will kind of slap either one of us around. Just kind of slap Peter around. That looks pretty tough. I think my team is better into his, like you were saying earlier. But I think he's, on track to end up in finals. I think he wants to win the whole thing pretty bad.
Yeah, he seems pretty motivated. I don't think he's ever won a season in our server.
No, he's won several, but not here.
Yeah, and so he's motivated for sure. I feel like last season he was maybe a bit less motivated, but he's definitely got it now.
He's got a good team for it too.
Yeah.
His team's really hard to deal with. I think it's still probably one of the stronger ones. I mean, he kind of rolled through his division without too much of an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brings the same 6 Pokemon, and they're good Pokemon. I also want to take a moment to say that I told him in our first video that he would never bring Granbull, and then he said, no, go fuck yourself, and he brought Granbull to like every game, and now it's his kill leader.
Yep, and it's maybe if you didn't bring it, Zapdos Galar would be his kill leader, and he'd still be in standing 1. But regardless, it is where we are.
That is where we are, and that's on me. So there you go, Chad.
Maybe that's people staying in with their physical threats against the guy with Intimidate and Rocky Helmet, but who knows? Yeah, I do feel like, unfortunately, I don't think Peter has the gas to get through Chad's team unless he brings some like really.
He'd have to prep out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, he would have to gimmick him, and I don't think that Peter's got the brain for that right now. It'd be cool if he does, but I'm not sure that he's. Really...
I know he does, but I don't know if he has it right now.
Exactly. Yeah, like he could do it for sure, but I don't think that he will. I do think your team has the Chad, notoriously good at not getting gimmicked.
Hmm.
I think that your team just sort of has maybe just the gas to beat him straight up. You know?
Yeah, I don't need to gimmick anything. I think I could potentially just I don't know if out damage is the right word, but yeah, I definitely think there's a firm possibility. He's not unbeatable by any means, and I have good stuff into his team.
Yeah, and his team is like pretty frail too. You know, Delphox, Genshin, Zapdos, like they all like if they, it's gonna be hard for them to switch in like or have any value in a matchup against like a booster speed leaves or something like that. So,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
all right,
If his walls go down, it could be problematic.
yeah, I do think that you have the best chance between the two. I do think that between you guys, you know, I believe that you will win, but my brain thinks that Chad will win.
Oh, I think Chad will win too. It's
Yeah.
you can purple him. I've been prepping with him for a large chunk of the season. Like I said, I think he's like you said rather, he's motivated enough.
Yeah, and he seems very comfortable with these guys too,
Mm-hmm.
which I think goes a long way. Like
Oh, it's
for
so
some of
annoying. He just slaps a team together and it just like stomps you, and you're like, cool. I spent a while trying to do, give you what your opponent might bring, and I know you made that in 5 minutes.
yeah. Now
But he's good. What can
Gabrielle
you
looked
say?
at these teams, yours and Peter's, and she thought that let's see, she thought that Peter's team was just scrappier, you know. She thought that Peter's team was shifty. Then she saw Shift Tree, and she was like, "That's the kind of team that would shank you, and your team won't see it coming," are what her words were. So she thought your team was just a bit too honest, and that Peter's
Okay.
team was deceptive and scrappy, which I think is actually a pretty good assessment of the
Yeah.
squads.
Yeah.
And she thinks
I
that,
I don't think that's incorrect at all.
yeah, she thinks the scrappiness is going to win out between you two.
Fair enough. Rose also picked Peter. Like I said before, I blocked out my name. She didn't know what team she was picking. When after I revealed it, she's like, "Oh no, what have I done?" But she picked Peter's team for a couple reasons. One, there's a genie, kind of cool. Two, that guy Hitmontop is so confident that he's upside down. Not
Oh
in this
yeah.
one, but on the other prep doc, he's upside down. And three, Pikachu,
Oops.
which I think is pretty fair. She also really doesn't like the slappy hand, slappy pappy monkey, where her
Slappy Ambipom.
yeah, where
Just
her direct
a little too arrogant.
words. Yeah, he's he's arrogant in the face of God. Who does
Yeah.
he think he is
Yeah.
existing?
Like him on top, he's just an honest, confident man.
He's just going to the office.
Yeah. But Ambipom, he's like trying to get away with something.
Yeah, he definitely, absolutely is trying to pull a fast one on you.
Yeah. As between Peter and Chad, Gabrielle really did not like Chad's team. Specifically, she said that Chad's team looks like a bunch of perverts.
Rose didn't say the same thing, but when I was getting her overall opinions of things, she didn't like Chad's team either.
Yeah. Gabrielle said swampert, more like swamp pervert. So she picked up Peter to advance through this quarter.
Yeah, and again, do not blame her there.
Mm-hmm. All right, down into our last little quarter. You know, all the Southern boys. I felt like it was kind of interesting. So we've got like, you know, the two Disney guys. We've got the two Sweats. The two. I don't know if there's
Up and comers.
Up and comers, and then we got the two Louisiana homies.
Red shirt, you've been here for like 7 seasons.
Yeah, Richard's been here since the beginning, but recently has picked up in how he's been doing. So, yeah. Who do you have between Trey and Bestrin? What's your answer? Who's gonna win this one?
Who is gonna win this one? Like I said before, I think Trey has the hardest bracket, and I think it's a hard bracket because I think Bestron's gonna beat him.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it will be a hard and short bracket
Yeah.
because I'm picking Bestrin too.
I just think his team's better. Haxorus is really tough to deal with, but Bestron also doesn't really have a Heracross answer that's that great.
True, true. Yeah, Heracross
It's
definitely hard to deal
the
with.
Heracross is a tough one, and Amorous isn't the worst Haxorus check. Um, yeah, I think he's just got a little bit more of an advantage, but Trey has definitely been has more momentum coming into this. I think he's won his last like 3 games or something like that. Maybe I just pull that number out of my ass.
Part of my read about Bestron is that I feel like Bestron always wants to be bringing a team that feels like a little bit gimmicky. Like there's always something in there that's going to catch you off guard, and some people get
Uh-huh.
sucked into that more than others. Like if Robert and Brett played, I would imagine their teams would both be like really deep in like trying to sauce each other.
Playing the player much more than the team.
Exactly. And I feel like some people don't get sucked into that as much. Chad does not engage. You know, Chad brings his solid 6 guys. I feel like Trey is like pretty high on the will engage with that sort of draft behavior.
I actually think Chad loves to style on the homies, and will like I've seen him lose because he's brought stupid ass stuff.
Yeah, I guess for Chad it's like I feel like he does that against the homies, for sure.
hmm
And I feel like
This is maybe a little evil, but I really love that we're gonna get a double team kill no matter what happens.
yeah, me too. It's great. It's like which one of you
I
is the better representative?
right. All of Louisiana is on the line right here.
Yeah.
But they're always such good games. You don't pull punches for the homies.
Plus king mistakes.
You guys know each other so well. Yeah, playing the coach, not the team.
Yeah. And I feel like where Brett wants to live is playing the coach. Like that is where Brett feasts, you know?
Yeah. Especially with this team that he's extremely comfortable with.
Exactly. Like he's got all the homies who he is like has used for a couple seasons now. He knows Trey. Like they have their own little separate, Discord channel, and
I play melee every weekend.
exactly. Like this is, I think, where Brett wants to be. Team kill or not, I feel like this is sort of the kind of ideal match for him to pop off in the way that he like really does well in draft.
Definitely not that Trey can't. I think Trey's equally capable of knowing his friend and being able to like, you're gonna do this because this is what you always do, in these situations. But I think his team's just a more limited team.
Yeah, and Trey could have just like that one idea, that makes it work, like the overquill.
hmm
But I think it's tough. You've got to get through Cresselia, which is pretty hard outside of, you've got Heracross and Overquill for sure, but like Vaporeon or Bellibolt or Orthworm, like they're not touching Cresselia.
Right. Almost every mon on Bestron's team has something that can beat it, but it's
Yeah.
really just one thing,
Yeah.
and everything else is gonna kind of struggle.
hmm Yeah, and I feel like kind of the guys down at the bottom here too on Brett's side, like Drifloon, Articuno, Flareon, and Houndstone. Those are all the kind of thing where like if they just bring the right set into Trey's team, they might be really hard to break through.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got Brett. You've got Brett. I think we both think Trey has potential, for sure. I think Trey needs to
got
not get
gumption.
demotivated if he gets crit turn 1. I feel like he tilts really hard.
Yeah. Sometimes I can't blame him, but yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Into Riker, you getting Bestron or you getting Riker?
I think that I didn't finish this thought when I was making my notes because it was really tough and I wanted to come back to it. But I actually think that if Bestron beats Trey, Riker and Bestron is one of the closest matchups of the entire season, if not my like closest, most even matchup. So I have no idea.
Yeah. I do think that Riker made his team a little bit worse in order to beat me. That's not salt talking. I think that Ndidi Armarouge has just made his team a little bit worse. But yeah, as between the two, I mean, I feel like I like Brett's team on paper a little bit better. I feel like Haxorus is just going to be really hard for Riker
It's
to deal with.
very hard to deal with, yeah.
Even Screamtail, you know, doesn't want to catch a poison jab and take 40 and get poisoned for another 13%. I feel like Cresselia is hard to break through, like especially with like all this psychic psi spam sort of stuff.
Right. He doesn't necessarily have. I don't know. And Chestnut can only Terra once, right? Whenever I look at Riker's teams and the different matchups he has, it's Chestnut can always do whatever you want him to, but he can only do one thing, you know?
And I do think that Riker maybe has a little bit better of a hazard game just because Brett's only hazard removal is like Defog on Articuno and Driftblim, which kind of sucks.
I don't think Articuno gets it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, so it's Defog and Driftblim. Great.
Because it was the whole debacle week 1 when he didn't have any removal.
Damn. So I think that if Brett loses, it's probably just because he gets like long gamed hazard stacked or something.
But he almost has better. Well, maybe not better. Screamtail's an excellent wish passer, but I don't know. I think they can go blow for a bit.
Yeah, I think that if
No, I think this could be a long game.
Yeah, I think that if it's a, medium short game, it definitely favors Brett. I think the longer it goes, the more like hazards are going to be relevant with Chestnut and Ogerpon setting spikes or.
I do think these are two of the most patient players in our server, though.
Yeah.
I have zero qualms with making it take time. I really like Scrapty into Riker's team as well, because I don't, Ogerpon is always going to be a huge threat, but
yeah.
Even at times 4, I'm not too worried about a Moonblast from Screamtail or Dazzling Gleam, whatever it is.
Yep, and nothing wants to take a knockoff. Cripples like pretty much everything on Riker's team, so.
Yeah, that's one problem with Ogerpon. Without something that procs the Defiant, and if you somehow manage to get your item knocked off, like you're just kind of a Pokemon, you know?
All right, well, you said you were pretty 50-50, but we need an answer. Who do you have?
I got to go with my boy Bestrin.
Starting out, I had kind of Riker in my head, but the more I look at the teams, the more I like Brett's. Just feels a bit more diverse, so I'm going to take Brett too. But yeah, I think it's really close. I think it could go either way.
Definitely the closest one of the first 2 rounds of playoff, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. All right. And
especially because it's a team kill and they know each other so well and they have a lot of data on each other and a lot of game.
Yeah, and I think that, Riker is clearly pretty motivated. I think Brett is also pretty motivated, especially if he wins against Trey. He'll be in the last, what is that, 4? Last 8. And I know Brett really wants to win, so.
I got distracted looking at Peter's records there. That was a rough couple weeks. Yeah.
Well,
What can you do? Shows up to beat Bestrin. Or to... no, never mind. I read that wrong.
No, he's kind of snuck in, for sure.
Yeah. I at least, beat people who are ranked above me.
All right, well, let's close it out here with final thoughts from the significant others. Who does Rose have?
It was almost Bestrin. But then Rose said that Haxorus looked like Randall from Monsters, Inc., and then described Mudsdale as a thunderous workhorse, and decided that between Mudsdale and Tauros, Trey clearly had the upper hand.
So really on the horses will beat, blimps.
Yeah, and Randall. If Randall's in a blimp, he's no match for a horse.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not far, but it's no like Scolipede. I don't know.
Let's see.
No, the fire one, Centiscorch.
Centiscorch, yeah. So the horses won out over Randall, the Haxorus. Gabrielle said the Team 1 had a very Sherlock Holmes vibe between Monkey Dory and Houndstone, like especially Houndstone. Houndstone
Okay.
Hospitals.
Yeah.
due to the dog and the Sherlock Holmes vibe. She just thinks that Trey's gonna get out thunk.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
But then she saw Screamtail, and she said, "Screamtail, screaming is a good indication you have a solid vitality to you." And she loves being loud and screaming in public, just anywhere. So she picked Riker solely based on Screamtail.
That's an
To win
insane
it all.
quality to describe someone with.
And
Oh, they
yes,
love to scream in public.
she loves to scream in public. It's true.
Oh, fair enough.
No social norms. And she actually
I
picked
don't.
Riker to win it all solely based on Screamtail.
Well, that's fair. I love Scream too. Oh, I couldn't. I don't think I could tell you the last time I've actually screamed.
Could be right now.
No,
Fair enough.
not gonna be. That's probably why I haven't screamed in a long time. The opportunity comes up, and I usually say no.
Well, that's
All
everything
right.
from the individual matches. What else you got for us?
I have round 3 predictions based on what we said. I have a final winner for myself and a final winner from Rose.
Okay.
So you can take that how you will, but without, like you said, without getting too in the weeds, in the semifinals, I had you and Cam on that side of the bracket, and I thought that was pretty tough because I feel like if you make it that far, you'll be extra motivated because you've made it that far, and because you don't want to lose twice to someone in a season, you know.
True.
But if Cam makes it that far, he must be cooking, and his team's pretty good. So I don't know. I would like to see Cam do it, even if Cam doesn't believe he can do it. I know he can. But yeah. And then for the semifinals, on the other side, I have what's that? Bestrin and Chad, and I think Chad wins even if it's Riker and ends up in the finals. And then in the finals, it was Cam versus Chad.
So you think Cam's gonna get it?
I do. I think it'll be tough, but that's what I want in my heart. I'm sorry to tell you this now, at the end of the video, not at the beginning, so you could have cut it off. But
I could still edit it. Splice it together. Make sure.
you just edit me out of everything.
Yeah, just make a new video actually. This is gonna be
Yeah, that'd
my
probably be easier.
solo thoughts on the playoffs. And I happen to
Release
have Rose's
the
opinions,
Icona
too.
cut. Between Cam and Chad, I want Cam to win, so I'm gonna say Cam.
All right, I did not make semis predictions, but I hate to say it, but I feel like it's gonna be Chad's season. That's kind of how it's feeling to me in my gut, going through all the teams. Not exactly sure who will be playing. I think that gut feeling is that it's me, Cam, or James.
I'm so offended right now.
I feel like Cam can get a little bit nervous. So I kind of feel like me or James is going to make it out into the finals. I think that if it's James versus Chad, James is going to take it. I think that if it's Chad versus either me or Cam, I think Chad's going to take it. Because I know that James really, really wanted to win last main season he played. And I think he's going to take it seriously, calling all the homies, get his Australian friends to build him a broken team.
I think it's just the one.
His one Australian friend. He'll find some more just for the
Mary's gonna call in the big guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me get my team together. I know some people.
Well, Gabrielle picked Riker to win it all. And close us out. Who did Rose get?
Rose took a look. We took a look at the end of it at every single team in playoffs again, and she decided that Silly Nips was the overall winner. First, because of the koala from Sing. But she liked the overall synergy of the vibe of his team. She thought that all these Pokemon would be homies, and that as a team they would win. Plus, she really likes Typhlosion as well.
Yes, Nips' team definitely has the best. We work together in this sort of vibes.
I feel like that's a team that Ash Ketchum could have, or someone in the show, and you'd be like, yeah, these are the boys, you know?
Yeah, he's got the boys.
Golurk, Registeel, and Gyarados all got specific shoutouts, and she said that King of Mistakes would be the runner-up.
Damn. Well, I don't know that that's possible, but because we're on the same
She
side of the bracket. But at least the runner-up for favorite.
That's that is hilarious. I didn't even pay attention to that. But she saw King of Mistakes team first and was just like, "Yo, this is it. This is a Pokemon team. Look at these
Yeah, it's
guys."
got that dog in it.
It does. Well, no, that was Brett's team. No, this one has a dog in it too. She
Yeah.
liked Brett's team because of Houndstone. She didn't have anything to say about Mabostiff. So take that as you will.
All right. Well, that's all the predictions. We'll see who's more right between the four of us. I have a prediction it's not going to be either you or me. So I'm interested for that. Any closing thoughts you got for us?
Yeah, I actually do. I thought this season was a really interesting one, and I don't really like quite know how to articulate that, but the fact that Dunn was the kill leader with 12 and 7 games, and one of them, 6 of those were a sweep, 5 of those were a sweep, is kind of crazy. We really spread the kills out, and I don't think anything was over centralizing. Not that our seasons are ever too over centralizing, but I think a lot of the teams, when I was doing the predictions, looked stronger on paper. I think that might just be an OU thing, or an RU thing with more and more power creep and more good Pokemon coming in. Like Iron Thorns being in RU is kind of nuts. And it's not even that good of a Pokemon. But it was a cool season. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked all of the. I thought it was more like coach development than prep for me. I thought people have been playing really well, and it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's cool to look at the top 10 here and see, 6 Terra captains and 4 non-Terra captains. I feel like that means we probably hit a pretty good balance on where the power level is. And then down here, fewer Terra captains. So that's been fun to watch too. It's a little
Definitely.
sad for me looking at this and realizing I don't have a single Pokemon in the kill leaders.
Do I just have the one? Yeah, I think so. Even expanded to 20. Jeez.
Yeah,
other than, third place with 9 kills is crazy. I brought him almost every game.
Yeah, it's so low. And I feel like all of the teams, sometimes we have a season where Caloric Shadow just absolutely destroys everyone. This season it's felt like a lot of the guys on a lot of the teams got to kind of show up. And that's always cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people are just
I think people could have been more streamlined as well. They could have run things through one Pokemon and drove up that kill count, but it doesn't really matter. I think everyone's enjoyed being more creative.
Yeah, and definitely I feel like the teams people are making, they've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. There's been an interesting shift in players as well. We've moved a lot away from sort of ex-DPDL Oswego crowd, like Bomby and Mick and Boz and Tibbs, and maybe that's just for this season. But to some newer players, and Riker's coming back, and King of Mistakes is back, and I like seeing the new circulation of players. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
we did have a lot of forfeits this season, and that wasn't as fun. So we may change how we do things in the future. We may have to be stricter about it. Kind of, I don't know. Sometimes it brings down the entire momentum a little bit.
Yeah, and it kind of sets off a chain reaction a bit sometimes too, I feel.
But we'll address that. You guys don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, just know that next season, if you forfeit, we just take away one of your Pokemon at random.
Yeah, or we just kick you out of the server forever. And give Bomby your team. And he's going to end up with 7 teams.
Yeah, it's, the finals are actually just going to be Bomby playing himself.
Oh, he's used to it. Sorry, Bomby.
Well, he's not playing, so he can't complain about anything.
He can't hear me.
Yeah, he's not going to watch this. He's not going to get to minute 59. Come on. He can't even sign up for a season. He's going to listen to an hour-long video? Please.
Oh, God. This feels way longer than an hour. I feel like I've just been rambling for days.
We've kept it tight.
Okay.
All right, well, why don't we call it here? Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how wrong you are, and give us your own picks, too, because that'll be fun. So...
Someone should set up a March Madness bracket for this.
Yeah, next
we could actually get everyone's opinion.
Yeah, have a biggest correct predictions contest.
Winner gets to nominate someone to get waxed.
No,
Oh, that'd be weird.
winner gets to wax Bomby. That's how it's got to go.
There it is. Yeah.
All
I
right.
knew we'd get there.
You have 3
Well,
seconds
thanks,
left.
guys.
2, 1. Later.
Bye.